Welcome to this video on grade 9 equations, and today we're going to take a look at an assignment. So we're going to take a look at a variety of questions, and the first question says solve for x, and it says x plus 5 equals 8. The idea is to isolate the x, so we need to get rid of the positive 5. To get rid of positive 5, we will subtract 5 from both sides. So x equals 8 minus 5. Therefore, x equals 3, and this will only be worth 1 mark. So 1 mark allocated for your answer. In 2x equals 11, to get the x alone, we need to divide both sides by 2. On the left, the 2's will cancel, so you're left with an x, and it is 11 over 2. You can leave it as an improper fraction, so it's 1 mark allocated for your answer. 4x minus 1 equals 7. The idea is to get the term with x alone, so we need to get rid of the negative 1. To get rid of negative 1, we add 1 on both sides. So 4x equals 7 plus 1, which is 8. 1 mark is allocated for this step. Then to get x alone, we divide both sides by 4. The 4's cancel on the left, so you are left with x equals 8 divided by 4 is 2. 1 mark, so a total of 2 marks for this question. X over 2 equals negative 1. To get rid of the 2 in the denominator, you need to multiply both sides by 2. So x equals negative 1 times 2, which is negative 2. Therefore, this question will only be worth 1 mark. 5x plus 2 over 2 equals 21. It is so important for you to realize that there is only a 2 in this denominator and that the 21 is over 1. The LCD, the lowest common denominator, would be 2. On the left-hand side, I would multiply by 1 at the bottom and multiply by 1 on top. On the right-hand side, I would multiply the bottom by 2 and therefore the top by 2 as well. Then, if I've got the common denominator, I can drop the denominators. So I've got 1 times 5x plus 2, and that is equal to 21 times 2, which is 42. That then gives me 5x plus 2, as 1 times 5x plus 2 is still 5x plus 2, is 42. To get the 5x alone, I subtract 2 on both sides, so 42 minus 2 is 40. To isolate the x, we divide by 5. The 5's cancel, so x equals 40 divided by 5, which is 8. Mark allocation, when you get 5x plus 2 equals 42, 5x equals 40, and then x equals 8. There are different options for the next question. If I decide to get all my x's on the left-hand side, we can have a 3x on this side. Get rid of the 5x on the right, so subtract 5x on both sides. Then I have a negative 1 on the right, get rid of the 2, so subtract 2 on both sides. That means that I've got a minus 2x on the left. Minus 1 minus 2 is negative 3. Then to get x alone, we divide by negative 2. What I do on the left, I do on the right. The negative 2's can cancel, so therefore x equals, negative and negative is a positive, and that will give me 3 over 2. I'll show you the mark allocation just now. Alternatively, you could have said, I keep the 2 on the left. I want to get rid of the negative 1 on the right, so I add 1 on both sides. Keep the 5x on the right. I want to get rid of the positive 3x on the left, so I subtract 3x on both sides. So 2 plus 1 is 3. 5x minus 3x is 2x. To isolate the x, I divide by 2 on both sides. So I get 3 over 2 equals, and on this side the 2's cancel, so the answer is x. Mark allocation. If you can get to minus 2x equals negative 3 in this case, and then x equals 3 over 2. Over here, if you can get 3 equals 2x, and 3 over 2 equals x. Regardless of which option you choose, as long as you get the correct answer. For the next question, it is important for you to put the 7 over 1 and then to get the LCD. So I've got a 3, a 6 and a 1. The LCD will be 6. So I need to multiply the first denominator by 2. What do I do at the bottom? I do at the top. Always put a bracket around your numerator if it consists of more than one term. So you're going to multiply by 1, multiply the top by 1, multiply by 6, multiply by 6. Then you can drop the denominator and you've got b times 2 is 2b. Don't forget the plus. 1 times b minus 6 equals 7 times 6 is 42. I can just rewrite it as 2b. 1 times b minus 6 is still b minus 6 equals 42. Neaten it up a bit. 2b plus b is 3b. I want to get rid of the negative 6, so I add 6 on both sides, so I get 48. To get b alone, I divide both sides by 3. So therefore, the 3's cancel. I have b equals, and 48 divided by 3 is 16. Mark allocation once you've gotten your LCD and you've multiplied so that you can get your numerators. And then for neatening it up a little bit, then get 3b equal to 48 and then isolating your b value, giving you a total of 4 marks. When we have a question with a bracket in it, don't forget that BODMAS says brackets first. So we're going to distribute the 3 into the bracket. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3 equals 2x plus 5. I'm going to keep my 3x on the left. So it means I want to get rid of my 2x on the right hand side. So I subtract 2x on both sides. I keep my 5 on the right, which means I want to get rid of the negative 3 on the left. So I add 3 on both sides. 3x minus 2x is 1x, and 5 plus 3 is 8. So first mark is allocated for distributing the 3 into the bracket, and then your second mark for getting x equals 8. So 2 marks for this question. Before you make this question too difficult, I would like for you to think a little bit about this one and then first isolate the term with the x. So get the 1 over 5x alone first. So I am going to get rid of the minus 1. Now to get rid of minus 1, we add 1 on both sides. So I get 1 over 5x equals 10 plus 1, which is 11. And then 1 over 5x is the same as saying x divided by 5. So the opposite of divide is multiply. So to get rid of the divide by 5, all I have to do is multiply it by 5. What I do on one side, I do on the other side. So over here, the 5 and the 5 will cancel. So I've got x, and 11 times 5 is 55. So 1 mark for getting rid of the negative 1 and getting 11. And then for multiplying both sides by 5 and getting x is 55, giving you a total of 2 marks for this question. Once again, isolate the term with the x. So I want to get rid of the negative 1. To get rid of the negative 1, I add 1 on both sides, and 31 plus 1 is 32. Now, whenever I work with exponential equations, the idea is to get your bases the same. And the way to do that is to actually use your shift fact button or to get your prime bases. Now, for those of you who don't have a fancy calculator, an easy way to do that is to just draw a little factor tree. So what you can do is you can go 32 divided by 2, as 2 is the first prime number, is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then 2 divided by 2 is 1. So in other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2's. So therefore 32 can be written as 2 to the power of 5. So you rewrite it as 2 to the power of 2x equals 2 to the power of 5. And now that your bases are the same, you can drop the bases and set the exponents equal. So therefore 2x equals 5. And then to get x alone, you just divide both sides by 2. 2's cancel, so therefore x equals 5/2. So the first mark is allocated when you got rid of the -1, so you made it 32. Then for the prime basis, rewriting 32 as 2 to the 5. Dropping the basis and saying 2x is equal to 5, and then getting x equal to 5/2. Now, these two actually go together. So in other words, it's worth a total of 3 marks. Solve for A. So here we've got another bracket, so let's keep the 4. Please remember, you cannot go and subtract those. You have to do the brackets first, so keep the 4. Multiply the -2 into the bracket, so -2 times A is -2A, -2 times 1 is -2 equals 4. If we neaten it up, we get a -2A. 4 minus 2 is +2 equals 4. So I keep my -2A. I already have a 4 over here, so I need to get rid of the +2, so I'm going to subtract 2. So I get -2A equals +2, divide both sides by -2, and then I end up with an A. Positive and a negative gives you a negative, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So you get 1 mark for actually distributing the -2 into the bracket, 1 mark for getting a -2A plus 2 equals 4, and then 1 mark for saying A is -1. Please note, if you said 4 minus 2 first, you will get no marks. Right, brackets, brackets, brackets. So let's get rid of them. Let's distribute into the bracket. X times x is x squared. X times -3 is -3x. And then you guys remember BODMAS. So if you look very carefully, the brackets look almost identical, but the signs are different. So if you want to take a shortcut, you just need to multiply the first and the last terms, as the outer and the inner ones will cancel. If you're not comfortable, you can use FOIL. X times x is x squared, and -1 times 1 is -1. I'm going to keep the x squared on the left. I want to then get rid of the x squared on the right side, subtract x squared on both sides. Then leave the -3x on the left equals -1. X squared minus x squared can cancel, so I've got -3x equals -1. To get x alone, I'm going to divide by -3. What I do on one side, I need to do on the other side. The -3's cancel, so x equals negative, and negative is a positive, and you are left with a third. Mark allocation, distributing into the bracket 1 mark, distributing into the bracket another mark, and then getting -3x equal to -1, and then ending up with x as a third. So that gives you a total of 4 marks. Since I've got more than one term in my numerator, I would put brackets around it. And as you can see, our denominators are already the same. So we can just keep in mind that x may not equal 0 because we may not divide by 0. So just remember that is one of the restrictions. After that, you can just ignore it and write down your numerators. So 3x minus 4 plus 2 is equal to x minus 2. So neaten it up. 3x minus 4 plus 2 is -2 equals x minus 2. I'm going to keep my 3x over here. I want to get rid of the x, so I subtract x on both sides. I already have a -2. I want to get rid of that -2. So what do? I add 2 on both sides. So 3x minus x is 2x, and -2 plus 2 is 0. I divide both sides by 2, and I end up with x equal to 0. But hang on, we just said x may not be 0 because then you will be dividing by 0. So therefore, there will be no solution. Now the question here is x equals 1 a solution of 3x squared minus 5 bracket x plus 1 plus 2 equals 0? So all we're going to do is we're going to test it. So we're going to have our left-hand side. Now please note this is the left-hand side. So we're going to substitute that x value. So 3 times 1 squared. So in the x's place. We're going to see what happens if I do that. So in other words, in that x's place, we're going to replace it with a 1. Why 1? Because I say is x equals 1 a solution. So let's see what happens. So I get 3 times 1 squared, so it's still 1, minus 5, 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2, 3 times 1 is 3, minus 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2, 3 minus 10 is minus 7, plus 2, and I get a negative 5. But hang on, it says it must be 0. So will this x equal 1 work? No, it doesn't work. Why not? Because it's not equal to my right-hand side, which is 0. So therefore, no, x equals 1 is not a solution, because the left-hand side will not equal the right-hand side. So let's see if this one works. So let's go left-hand side. So here's my left-hand side. So we go negative 3, replace the x with a 2, squared plus 4 times 2 minus 1. And let's see what happens. So I get negative 3. 2 squared is 4, plus 4, 2 minus 1 is 1. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12, plus 4. And negative 12 plus 4 is indeed negative 8. And if you look at your right-hand side, in this case, it's also negative 8. So I can see my left-hand side is indeed equal to my right-hand side. So yes, x equals 2 is a solution. Why? Because it made my left-hand side and my right-hand side equal. So thank you very much for watching this video, and please go and like and share this video. Please subscribe to our channel, and then if you want us to make a video on a particular section that you are battling with, please remember to ask.